Hello everyone, this is Dino from Prehistoric Facts, and this is Prehistoric Facts Extra episode number 70. So we're going to be doing the very first extinction profile. These type of videos for the extra episodes called extinction profile. So we're going to look at all the different types of mass extinctions that have happened throughout Earth's history. And so why not start with the extinction profile with the very first mass extinction, and that is the Ordovician extinction. And so this is the first extra episode of this week, and this coming Saturday there will be another extra episode, and I'll talk about that a little bit later at the end of the video. And so let's actually get started here. For the very first extinction profile, let's talk about the Ordovician extinction. So where does the Ordovician actually land on the geologic time scale? And so it is in the Paleozoic era, and so if you go to the Geological Society of America website, you will find a geologic timescale there that is on PDF. You can actually download it if you want to, or otherwise print it out if you feel like it, and you can get to look at the geologic timescale. And so the Ordovician, I do have it highlighted here in red, and it's encircled right here in the Paleozoic, and so it's in this kind of like somewhat darker green, or like a aqua green type of color there. And so the Ordovician, it is 485.4 to 443.7 million years ago, and so this is a time period that was slightly over 41 million years. And so the Earth at that point in time is that the oxygen levels were not quite as dominant as it is today, but carbon dioxide levels were much higher than it was today, several times higher than it is today. And so if we travel back to the Ordovician, first and foremost, we would not be able to breathe in that type of atmosphere on Earth. So we would need like a boatload of oxygen tanks, and we would need a really good suit, to make sure we can wear it to block the sun, block out the heat, and also to be able to try to cool us down as well, because we would need a lot of things to be able to look around in the Ordovician. And so on land, it would have been mostly bare. It would have been bare rock, and so it would have been very hot. And of course, the only thing that would be plant life, it would actually be things called lichen, or otherwise moss, and even algae. And so those are the only things that would be somewhat on land, but they would be closer to the water. It would be closer to water to be able to have some photosynthesis going on. But of course, there is also other types of life forms, but most of those life forms were in the ocean. And so let's actually talk about the life forms that were in the Ordovician. But first we actually have to look at the Earth at around the Ordovician. And so this is in the late Ordovician, around 450 million years ago. And so what we got here is, so on Earth, this huge landmass that is in the southern part of the Earth would have been called Gondwana. And so these are continents like South America, Africa, Antarctica, India, and parts of Asia are actually on Gondwana. And so that would be all those countries that would be in Gondwana. And so what we have here, so North America would be right around here. And then you got parts of Europe and Asia that are right around over here. And so that's where you're going to see North America and parts of Europe and Asia. But majority of Asia would be in Gondwana, but you actually have North America, which is right near the equator. Parts of Europe is close to the equator, and even parts of Asia were close to the equator. And you got these tiny islands right there. So a lot of the Ordovician was water, and that's where you're going to see a lot of the life forms going to be living around here. But also you have some life forms living near Gondwana as well. So the life forms, and so let's actually take a look at the life forms that were around the fauna, so to speak, in the Ordovician. Like I said, majority of the animals that were living around the Ordovician was in water, so mostly sea life. So you got trilobites, you even got nautiloids, so these things that are related to squid and octopus. And so you got your straight cone nautiloids, which would be kind of like orthocone. Orthocones were around, and of course coiled nautiloids, those things that would look like ammonites, and they have the coiled shells. You can also have brachiopods. Brachiopods were very common in the Ordovician. They were very prominent there. Crinoids were also around. Those sea lilies, the eurypterids, which are nicknamed the sea scorpions. And so you got those, but they were not the top predators. Those would have been the nautiloids. Nautiloids were the top predators, mainly the straight cone nautiloids. You also have plenty of corals. You also have gastropods. Those are snails. Mollusks, so like your typical like say clam-like creatures, and jellyfish. You also have ostracoderms. Those are type of fish. These are type of fish that actually had like armor, like kind of like very solid heads. So they're the one of the few fish that were living around there. You also have bryozoans, life forms that would be very similar to coral, but they're not really coral. They're a different type of life forms, and also conodonts, which are fish that actually still have jawless parts. They don't have any jaws, but they're kind of almost look like those like sucky like type of fish. Those things that would actually like latch on to like say whales or even fish, like large fish and sharks and all that sort of stuff. Those would be the conodonts. And yeah, those were around in the Ordovician, and the waters would have been warm. And a lot of these life forms lived near the shallows. So these animals live near the shallows because that's where you actually have great nutrients for life forms to live in. Now let's actually talk about the extinction. So what happened here is that in this extinction, 49% of fauna disappeared, and that makes it the second largest extinction in Earth's history. The number one mass extinction, we will talk about that in a future video, and you probably know which one I'm talking about, and that would be in the third or otherwise in the third extinction profile video that will be happening in the future, which will probably be in August. And so, in the most accepted theory of the cause of the extinction is global cooling. And so there would have been an ice age that was developing in Gondwana. And so what happened is that you have glaciation period that was happening for at least over 1 million years. And so this global cooling was starting to happen in this glaciation in Gondwana. And so how you get glaciers, you have a rise in oxygen and lowering of CO2 or carbon dioxide. And so carbon dioxide levels dropped at the end of the Ordovician, excuse me. At the end of the Ordovician, you have a lot of global cooling. And so it was getting cooler. And so glaciation happens with a rise in oxygen levels. And so when you have that happen, that's where you have a lot of glaciers start to happen. And what does ice actually gather up? A lot of water. And so a lot of the sea levels dropped at that point in time. And so you had various different types of lands that were actually being shown that were never being shown before that on land at that point in time at the end of the Ordovician. And so the Ordovician was starting to look very, very different, and a lot of animals were starting to feel the effects of that. But there is another alternative theory out there. There's an alternative theory out there that a gamma ray burst probably stripped the Earth of its ozone layer, and that's where a lot of the animals were exposed to the radiation from the sun. But this theory is unlikely, not likely. This is more of like an alternative theory, but the most accepted theory is global cooling. And so, and when you actually look at and when you talk to geologists, they will say in the rocks there is a period of where you see like rocks actually had like some like glaciation happening, and that's where, especially in the areas like Gondwana, so like in parts of Africa, South America, Asia, and even India, you would actually have even Antarctica, and you actually have all these type of rocks that show glaciation. And yeah, that's how it happened. And even you would see rocks that were like from North America, even parts of Europe, would actually show the sea levels dropped significantly in those rocks as well. And that would suggest cooling, global cooling, or an ice age that had happened. But this is not the biggest ice age. This is not the biggest ice age in Earth's history. That belongs way before the Ordovician, and that would have been that time period was nicknamed Snowball Earth. But the ice age that we all know, uh, that happened much further in time in the age of mammals, and so yeah, so you actually have your most accepted theory, which is global cooling. But then the alternative theory is a gamma ray burst. We've seen that in Animal Armageddon on Animal Planet, but that's more of a theory that is not quite have any merit to it. Not a lot of evidence to prove that. But where were the survivors? What were the survivors of this extinction? Of course, you still have the algae and all the other types of bacteria and lichen that still survived. Jawless fish. The jawless fish survived, and when you get to the Silurian, which is the time period after the Ordovician, you would start to see a little bit more increase in the fish species, and some of these fish species got larger, and that's where at the end of the Silurian you start to see more fish that had jaws. The first jaws actually showed up. You also had Eurypterids. Survived very well, and they became they were one of the most dominant life forms in the ocean at that point in time. The sea scorpions were thriving in the Silurian. Corals still survived. Gastropods still survived. They actually did pretty well. As for the animals that were very affected by it, trilobites, their populations decreased. The populations decreased of trilobites. Of course, brachiopods, they also decreased in population. And of course, and also the bryozoans were greatly reduced. And even the straight cone nautiloids were affected too. The straight cone nautiloids did not get to the same size, the big sizes that they actually had in the Ordovician and the Silurian, so they were shrunken down. But the coil nautiloids, their population increased. And so those types of animals that were greatly affected were the trilobites, brachiopods, bryozoans, and the straight cone nautiloids. Those animals were greatly affected, and so they did not do very well after the Ordovician extinction. But the animals that uh, did have increase in population were the jawless fish, eurypterids, corals, gastropods, and the coiled nautiloids. And so you see a eurypterid for the picture right here, because why not show the eurypterids, right? And the eurypterids are really, really cool. And so the next episode would be not too long, which is April 22nd, 2023, and there'll be the extra episode, and that'll be my book review on Dinosaur World. This is a big, big book, and it came out not too long ago, so I will actually give you guys my review of that book, and that will be uploaded on YouTube on this Saturday. And so, but you can still send me questions about dinosaurs and other prehistoric life by email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or just go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you should post your questions in the comment section. Please put your questions in the comment section. Don't put them on Messenger. Messengers are private conversations. And for you YouTubers out there, like the video, subscribe to the channel. According to our analytics, a lot of you guys that are checking out my channel are not subscribed yet. So please hit that like button, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works, is that if you hit that like button, it actually distributes the video out to more people that are interested in dinosaurs and other prehistoric life out there. And also hit that subscribe button, and also stomp on the notification bell, because I post weekly videos. I post videos every single week. This is a very rare exception here, where I'm posting 2 videos this week. So yeah, feel free to hit that notification bell. And also for YouTubers out there, feel free to leave your questions in the comment section, because I do read them all. Your questions mean a lot on the Q&A episode. So all of you guys that are sending me questions via email, Facebook, and YouTube, you guys are awesome. You guys are giving me some great questions for the Q&A episodes. Make sure you keep your questions short and to the point. You can also follow me on Instagram at dino.chris.pf. I post pretty cool stuff on there. You can also follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. It's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there as well. Also, take care of the people around you. And also, for younger people out there that listen, your parents, your teachers, and your guardians, it's the best motivation you could have a good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. That's it for now. Now, I'll see you guys next time.